Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Ashtapadeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtake. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, Answers by citing Lord's Version, text number 5. Sadi Devo Jagatam Paro Guru Swadhishnayam Asthaya Shishriksha Yakshata Tam Nadhya Gachadrisham Atra Sammatam Prapancha Nirmana Vidhiryaya Bhavet. Lord Brahma, the first spiritual master, supreme in the universe, could not trace out the source. Could not trace out the source of his lotus seat. And while thinking of creating the material world, he could not understand the proper direction for such creative work, nor could he find out the process for such creation. So even Lord Brahma, so Shukdev Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaj, even Lord Brahma, he could not trace out the source of his lotus feet. He appeared there, but he could not figure out anything. This verse is prelude for explaining the transcendental nature of the form and the abode of the Lord. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it has already been said that the supreme absolute truth exists in his own abode without any touch of the deluding energy. Therefore, the kingdom of God is not a myth, but factually a different and transcendental sphere of planets known as the Vaikunthas. This will also be explained in this chapter. Such knowledge of the spiritual sky, far above this material sky and its paraphernalia, can be known only by dint of devotion service or bhakti yoga. The power of creation by Lord Brahma was also achieved by bhakti yoga. Brahmaji was bewildered in the matter of creation, and he could not even trace out the source of his own existence. So just imagine when Lord Brahma appeared on that lotus flower in the very beginning, there was nobody there. He could not talk to anybody. He had no association whatsoever. So he was completely bewildered. Who am I? What I'm doing here? What I'm here for? What I'm supposed to do? So Brahmaji was bewildered in the matter of creation, and he could not even trace out the source of his own existence, and he didn't know where did I come from. But all this knowledge was fully achieved by him through the medium of Bhakti Yoga. By Bhakti Yoga, one can know the Lord, and by knowing the Lord as a supreme, one is able to know everything else. So by dint of Bhakti Yoga, by doing Bhakti Yoga, of course, Brahmaji had to do a tapasya, but that tapasya was what the Lord told him to do. So it's considered as Bhakti Yoga. One who knows the Supreme knows everything else. So by knowing the Supreme, Brahmaji came to know everything else that was needed of him. Means he came to know what he was supposed to do. That is a version of all Vedas. Even the first spiritual master of the universe was enlightened by the grace of the Lord. So who else can attain perfect knowledge of everything without the mercy of the Lord? It's only by mercy of the Lord he came to know everything that he was supposed to do. So that's what Prabhupada is saying. Who else can know anything without mercy of the Lord? If anyone desires to seek perfect knowledge of everything, he must seek the mercy of the Lord, and there is no other means. To seek knowledge on the strength of one's personal attempt is a sheer waste of time. So only by mercy of the Lord we can know things as they are. That's what Prabhupada says. If anyone desires to seek perfect knowledge of everything, otherwise our knowledge will always be faulty because we have conditioned senses We have imperfect senses, faulty senses. So, by these imperfect senses, whatever we try to find out, it will be imperfect. To seek knowledge on the strength of one's personal attempt is a sheer waste of time. In fact, this applies to even material knowledge. On our own, even the material knowledge that we attain is not perfect. That's how much limited our strength is. Because to give you an example, like when we were little, we used to study in geography or astronomy or whatever the subject was, that there are 9 planets besides the sun, moon, whatever, Jupiter, Uranus, Venus, and then there was a planet called Pluto. And few years ago, I heard scientists are saying there is no planet Pluto. How come it was there so many years ago and all of a sudden they lost it? They said we don't have a planet Pluto. So how come at that time they were saying there is a planet Pluto? So So whatever we understand or learn from this scientific knowledge, so-called scientific knowledge, it's all imperfect actually. Big Bang theory, it's considered to be false. Darwin's theory of evolution, again they are saying there is no missing link. So it's all false, whatever we have been taught. Of course, that doesn't mean we don't go for whatever material or technical knowledge, because this helps in sustaining ourselves. But understanding that this all will keep on changing, because the persons who are trying to attain this knowledge, they themselves are imperfect. Of course, we are also imperfect. I'm not saying we are perfect. We are also imperfect. So made best use of the bad bargain. Just go with the flow. But understand, as a devotee, we should understand whatever knowledge we get by mercy of Krishna. That's the only knowledge that is perfect. So here Brahmaji himself, the first person in the whole universe, he could not figure out what he was supposed to do. And even in fact, the knowledge of creation also he got it from the sound of the flute played by Krishna. So on his own, if he had tried to do the creation, he couldn't have done it. So, but when Krishna gives the knowledge, it is all perfect. Text 296. Sachintayandviyaksharam ekadam bhasi upashinodvirgatitam vacho vibhu sparsheshu yat shodasham ekavincham nishkinchananam yadhanam vidu. While thus engaged in thinking in the water, Brahmaji heard twice from nearby 2 syllables joined together. So what were the syllables? One of the syllables was taken from the 16th and the other from 21st of the Sparsha alphabet, and both joined to become the wealth of the renounced order of life. So 16th and 21st alphabet of, obviously at that time there was only one language, Sanskrit. So we are talking about Sanskrit language. Otherwise, if it was A, B, C, D, so I don't know which one is 26th and which one is 16th and which one is 21st. But here it clearly says 21st of the Sparsha alphabets. So Sanskrit grammar is very scientific actually. So even I had forgotten, so I had to search on the net. So there are vowels: a, e, u, re, a, o, anuswar and visarga, and then consonants. Ka, kha, ga, gha, nga. Means if we pronounce it properly, we know there is the ka, kha, ga. All the sounds are coming from one part of the mouth, and then cha, cha, ja, jha, na. Again, another part of the mouth. Da, tha, da, dha, na. Again, another part. Ta, tha, da, dha, na. It's from the tip of the tongue. So the 16th alphabet is the, and then sparsha elephants, alphabets. Pa, fa, ba, bha, ma means again when we sparsh, touch the two lips together. So 21st alphabet is pa. So ta, pa, tapa. So it becomes tap. And anyway, the last line is yara, la, fa, yara, la, va, sha, sha, sa, ha. Means all, it's very scientific how all the sound comes out. It's not like A, B, C. Again, you have to use different parts of the mouth for speaking different alphabets. But in the same sequence, there is no such sequence. A, B, C, D, E. But Sanskrit is so scientific. So anyway, so purpose. In Sanskrit language, the consonant alphabets are divided into two divisions, namely the Sparsha Varnas and Talavya Varnas. From Ka to Ma, the letters are known as the Sparsha Varnas. Ka to Ma. And the 16th of the group is called Ta, whereas the 21st letter is called Pa. So when they're joined together, the word Tapa or penance is constructed. This penance is the beauty and wealth of the Brahmins and the renounced order of life. And it is said in the shloka, it's the wealth of the renounced order of life, means they have to do tapasya or penance. According to Bhagavad philosophy, every human being is meant simply for this tapa and now for no other business, because with penance only one can realize his self. And self realization, so not sense gratification, is the business of human life. This tapa or penance was begun from the very beginning of the creation, and it was first adopted by the supreme spiritual master, Lord Brahma. By tapasya only one can get the profit of human life, and not by a polished civilization of animal life. The animal doesn't know anything except sense gratification in the jurisdiction of eat, drink, be merry, and enjoy. But the human being is made to undergo tapasya for going back to Godhead, back home. So tapasya is very important. Penance is very, very important to make progress in any sphere of life. What to speak of spiritual life? That's the only way we can make advancement, by doing tapasya. Of course, Brahmaji's tapasya was for a very long time he did tapasya. But in Kali Yuga, our tapasya is very, very simple. And the result is amazing, amazingly powerful, amazingly supreme result we attain by doing this. Very little tapasya. Very little tapasya of chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Very little tapasya of hearing from Prabhupada, reading his books, tasting prasadam. What's the tapasya in tasting prasadam? Of course, one has to cook first, but one has to cook anyway to eat. So it's little tapasya of offering whatever we cook to Krishna and then eating. That tapasya anybody can do. So little tapasya, but the result is amazing. Chanting, it's a tapasya. Because we don't want to chant, we don't want to sit down in one place to chant, we don't want to concentrate, pay attention to a chanting, or concentrate on the holy names of the Lord. But if we do this little tapasya, definitely, like Prabhupada says, human being is made to undergo tapasya for going back to Godhead, back home. That is very little tapasya. When Lord Brahma was perplexed about how to construct the material manifestations in the universe and went down within the water to find out the means and source of his lotus seat, he heard the word tapa vibrated twice. Taking the path of tapa is the second birth of the desiring disciple. The word upashanot is very significant. It is similar to upanayan or bringing the disciple nearer to the spiritual master for the path of tapa. So Brahmaji was thus initiated by Lord Krishna, and this fact is corroborated by Brahmaji himself in his book, the Brahma Samhita. So it is mentioned in Brahma Samhita also. In Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma has sung in every verse, Govindam Nadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Thus, Brahma was initiated by the Krishna mantra by Lord Krishna himself. And thus he became a Vaishnava or a devotee of the Lord. But before, he was able to construct the whole huge universe. So he became a Vaishnava, devotee of the Lord, before he was able to construct the huge universe. So this making the 14 planetary systems in the universe and making 8,400,000 species of life and making sure everything in the universe works perfectly. The change of the seasons, the movement of the planets, everything, uh, providing everything for sustenance of every living entity in the whole universe. I mean, providing all the items for everybody's sustenance. That, that's what Brahmaji did. And why? How he could do that? Because he did tapasya. He did penance to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is stated in the Brahma Samhita that Lord Brahma was initiated into the 18-letter Krishna mantra, which is generally accepted by all the devotees of Lord Krishna. Now, somebody will say, what is the 18-letter Krishna mantra? Ours is what? 16 letter. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. No, 32 letters, right? But what is that 18 letter? That is actually the Gayatri mantra. We follow the same principle because we belong to the Brahma Sampradaya. Directly in the disciplic chain, from Brahma to Narad, from Narad to Vyas, from Vyas to Madhva Muni, and from Madhva Muni to Madhvendrapuri, from Madhvendrapuri to Ishwapuri, from Ishwapuri to Lord Chaitanya, and gradually to His Divine Grace, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, our Divine Master. One who is thus initiated in the disciplic succession is able to achieve the same result of power of creation. Chanting of this holy mantra is the only shelter of the desireless pure devotee of the Lord. Simply by such tapasya penance, the devotee of the Lord achieves all perfections like Lord Brahma. So here Prabhupada, although he writes chanting of this holy mantra, but we don't chant that Gayatri. Gayatri mantra we chant, but those who have taken Brahman initiation. But Harinam Sankirtan is for everybody. Because that was introduced by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually. So we do come in Brahma Sampradaya, but then there is a little, uh, I don't want to say deviation, little change. So Brahmaji, we come under Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So that Madhva is Madhvacharya. Or, well, some say Madhvacharya and some say Madhvendrapuri. So probably it's Madhvacharya. So from Brahmaji, then Madhvacharya, and then we call Brahma Madhva Gaudiya. So that parampara in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu followed, and he gave his instructions. So when we follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then we, because of this chanting of the holy name, that is Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which was propagated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first. So then we follow this mantra, we chant this Maha Mantra, and then we get purification. But nevertheless, we have to perform tapasya. Text 7. Nishamya tad vaktri ditrikshaya tisho vilokya tatranvyad apashyamana Swadhishniyam asthaya vimrishitya tadhitam tapsi upadishta ivadade manaha. When he heard the sound, he tried to find the speaker, searching on all sides. But then, when he was unable to find anyone besides himself, he thought it wise to sit down on his lotus seat firmly, and give his attention to the execution of penance as he was instructed. So when he heard this sound, he tried to look around. Oh, where's the sound coming from? What is the source of his sound? But when he didn't find anything, so he just sat down in his lotus seat or lotus flower on the lotus flower, and he started tapasya. To achieve success in life, one should follow the example of Lord Brahma, the first living creature in the beginning of creation. After being initiated by the Supreme Lord to execute tapasya, he was fixed in his determination to do it. And although he could not find anyone besides himself, he could rightly understand that the sound was transmitted by the Lord himself. Brahma was the only living being at that time because there was no other creation and none could be found there except himself. In the beginning of the first canto, in the first chapter, first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, it has already been mentioned that Brahma was initiated by the Lord from within. It is said that Tene Brahma Hirda Ya Adi Kave. So Lord Krishna gave him the knowledge from within his heart. The Lord is within every living entity as a super soul, and he initiated Brahma because Brahma was willing to receive the initiation. The Lord can similarly initiate everyone who's inclined to have it. Brahmaji was ready to be initiated because he followed the instructions of the Supreme. As already stated, Brahma is the original spiritual master for the universe, and since he was initiated by the Lord himself, the message of Srimad Bhagavatam is coming down by displic succession. And in order to receive the real message of Srimad Bhagavatam, one should approach the current link or spiritual master in the chain of displic succession. So after being initiated by the proper spiritual master in that chain of succession, one should engage himself in the discharge of tapasya and the execution of devotional service. Of course, here Brahmaji was ready to undergo tapasya, ready to undergo the penances. So Krishna, not just ready, he performed the penances, following the instructions, then Krishna gave him the knowledge. But in our case, after being initiated by the proper spiritual master in that chain of succession, one should engage himself in the discharge of tapasya and the execution of devotional service. So in our case, first we get initiated and then we discharge the devotional service, a discharge of tapasya. Here, Brahmaji first performed tapasya and then he got initiated. One should not, however, think himself on the level of Brahma to be initiated directly by the Lord from inside, because in the present age, no one can be accepted to be as pure as Brahma. The post of Brahma is to officiate in the creation of the universe is offered to the most pure living being, and unless one is so qualified, one cannot expect to be treated like Brahmaji directly. But one can have the same facility through unalloyed devotees of the Lord, through scriptural instructions as revealed in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam especially, and also through the bona fide spiritual master available to the spirit soul, to the sincere soul. So Brahmaji got mercy of the Lord because he was ready. But one can have the same facility through unalloyed devotees of the Lord, means following the bona fide spiritual master will give the same mercy as Brahmaji received by getting initiated by the Lord directly. The Lord himself appears as a spiritual master to a person who is sincere in the heart about serving the Lord. Therefore, the bona fide spiritual master who happens to meet the sincere devotee should be accepted as the most confidential and beloved representative of the Lord. If a person is posted under the guidance of such a bona fide spiritual master, it may be accepted without any doubt that the desiring person has achieved the grace of the Lord. So one has to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and follow his instructions, and one can make progress. And then one can be confident that he has received the mercy or grace of the Lord. Well, Bhai Prabhupada says, because bona fide spiritual master is a representative of the Lord. Text 8. Divyam sahasrabdam amog darshano jitanilatma vijito bhendriya atapyatasmakhila lokatapnam tapastapiyans tapatam samahitaha. Lord Brahma underwent penances for 1,000 years by the calculation of the demigods. So he performed tapasya for 1,000 demigod years. So one demigod year is 360 of our days. So Brahmaji performed tapasya for 360,000 years. He heard this transcendental vibration from the sky and he accepted it as divine. Thus he controlled his mind and senses, and the penances he executed were a great lesson for the living entities. Thus he is known as the greatest of all ascetics. Lord Brahma heard the occult sound, tap, but he did not see the person who vibrated the sound, and still he accepted the instruction as beneficial for him, and therefore he engaged himself in meditation for 1,000 celestial years. One celestial year is equal to 6 times 30 times 12. So 6 times 30 times 12. I don't know where the 6 came from. His acceptance of the sound was due to his pure vision of the absolute nature of the Lord. And due to his correct vision, he made no distinction between the Lord and Lord's instruction. There is no difference between the Lord and sound vibration coming from him, even though he is not personally present. The best way of understanding is to accept such divine instruction, and Brahma, the prime spiritual master of everyone, is a living example of this process of receiving transcendental knowledge. The potency of transcendental sound is never minimized because a vibrator is apparently absent. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, or any revealed scripture in the world is never to be accepted as an ordinary mundane sound without transcendental potency. So Prabhupada is saying Brahmaji because he was pure and he was surrendered. He considered there is no difference between the Lord and Lord's instructions. He did not wait to see if the instruction is coming from the Lord or from some demon or anything else. And similarly, Prabhupada is saying the instructions of the Lord given in Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita are as good as instructions of the Lord directly. One just has to follow them. One has to receive the transcendental sound from the right source, accept it as a reality, and prosecute the direction without hesitation. The secret of success is to receive the sound from the right source of a bona fide spiritual master. Mundane manufactured sound has no potency, and as such, seemingly transcendental sound received from an unauthorized person also has no potency. So, even though it is transcendental sound instructions or vibrations, but if they're received from not from a bona fide person, has no potency. One should be qualified is enough to discern such transcendental potency, and either by discriminating or by fortunate chance, if one is able to receive the transcendental sound from the bona fide spiritual master, his path of liberation is guaranteed. The disciple, however, must be ready to execute the order of the bona fide spiritual master as Lord Brahma executed the instruction of his spiritual master, Lord himself. So the Lord instructed him to do tapasya, and he started doing tapasya for 1,000 celestial years. And this completely faithful execution of the order of the bona fide spiritual master is a secret of success. Lord Brahma controlled his two grades of senses by means of sense perception and sense organs because he had to engage such senses in the execution of the order of the Lord. Therefore, controlling the senses means engaging them in the transcendental service of the Lord. The Lord's order descends in disciplic succession through the bona fide spiritual master. And thus, execution of the order of the bona fide spiritual master is factual control of the senses. So the senses have to be controlled. In Brahmaji's case, because he had to do tapasya, he had to sit down in one place, he just withdrew the senses. But in our case, we have to engage the senses completely in the service of Krishna. Because sense gratification and making progress in bhakti or in spiritual life, they go ill together. That's what Prabhupada said. Such execution of penance and full faith and sincerity made Brahmaji so powerful that he became the creator of the universe. And because he was able to attain such power, he is called the best among the tapasvis. So by doing such severe tapasya, he could really fulfill the order of this order of Krishna, and and then he got the power to do the creation. So anyway, I'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, brother. Any other question? So I guess we can stop here. You all have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.